Hey everyone, I am here with the infamous Masked Man, and today we are going to be talking about the edgy character. But more importantly, what makes a good edgy character.
So I think when it comes to like an edgy character per se, I think many times the word edgy is thrown around with a negative connotation, right?
Yeah.
Um, Many times being dark without any sort of substance, really to I won't say validate, but to give a legitimate reason for why this character at this moment is so dark. Personally, I don't mind stories that are a little quote unquote edgy, but the stories that I really appreciate, they have light moments to contrast these dark moments, and they give proper build up to these dark moments. I think, I mean, of course, I have to say Berserk when it comes to this.
I mean, you are
Early
the
on,
Berserk guy, so kind of have
yeah,
to.
yeah. Yeah, right. It's kind of like what I have to sponsor. But no, it's a series that at first it hits you with probably some of the darkest stuff it has to offer, and then builds humanity with its characters, especially Guts. Therefore, when you find out about his past, the way he is makes sense, and it's something that comes off as natural, not something that's just there for the sake of shock value, which is something that I think a manga like Tokyo Ghoul can get accused of being sometimes, which I'll agree with in certain moments. But I do think Kaneki and Tokyo Ghoul as a manga is another series that kind of handles that, I guess, edgy banneker well. Although, again, there are some moments where Kaneki might say something and it might come off a little more cringe than it is badass. But I think that's the important thing is to understand that I think there's a difference between being edgy for edgy's sake and then just having a really dark moment that could be defined as edgy but is actually given its proper build up and narrative weight.
Those are some really good points, but I think that the main reason why people are attracted to the edgy character is most likely the character design and of course the badass moments. But I would also like to point out that just because a character is edgy and cool and has all these badass moments doesn't make them a well written character. Because in my personal opinion, like, if the only thing that your character has going for it is this a cool character design and like badass moments, if it's just like this really edgy person, then to me that's kind of boring and also in a way just kind of one the mission of. And of course, just like you, I have to bring up my boy Guts. Because as we know, Guts is like the poster child of just pure edge. With him dressed in black, carrying like a huge slab of iron, and him killing demons left to right. But it's, I think when the reader gets to witness Guts' more quiet, more human moments, that we can just really appreciate the character that is Guts. Because Guts' story is this pure tragic in itself. Like, the guy finally finds a family and finally finds a loved one, only for the eclipse to happen. So everything is just taken away from him now, and now we have like this story of like just pure revenge. But at the same time, we get to see these more human elements of Guts. We get to see him not succumb to his rage and whatnot.
Right. I think that's really part of it. Is if you want to make, because that's the thing, right? Is like in and of itself the question. In order to have a good edgy character, you're gonna have to make him more than an edgy character. Again, because of what edgy is usually seen as. Although I do think that it's fine sometimes to just have something that's just raw and just badass because there's an audience for that. For example, Hellsing. I think Hellsing's a really good example of a series just going like balls to the wall and not really
That's
having any
actually
sort
one
of
of my
restraint.
favorite animes too. So
Right. Yeah, no, Alucard's a really dope character. So I think it's just one of those things that if you're gonna go for the whole badass thing, like just go for it. Like just go for it. There's gonna be an audience that finds it distasteful. That's fine. Like again, it goes back to the principle of you now being able to appeal everyone with your story or your character.
Mhm.
But I do think you brought up a good point, like character design, usually dark colors, intimidating, something that looks, I guess, just simply cool. Um, and then
right,
you need to have that there's a tone of heaviness that comes with it. And I think good authors are capable of using that to the fullest, to add like the biggest amount of weight and pressure on the reader when reading their story or a specific moment in the story, where they're depicting everything with very heavy black tones and the character seems to be on the verge of a breakdown or of a power up. So it's I don't really know if there's much else I can really say regarding the edgy character because I feel like I already made my points regarding that earlier. But yeah.
And as I mentioned about Guts, it's not the fact that Berserk in itself could be considered just a pure revenge story, and that Guts is this angry man who wants to kill the god hand, who wants to avenge his fallen loved ones. Because it's not the fact that Guts is just a very angry person, it's more the fact of we get to, as I said before, witness his more human side, witness those more quiet moments, witness his more soft side, especially when he is with Casca. And with Tokyo Ghoul, you've brought up another good point with Kaneki and how at one point it could be considered edgy, but at the same time, Kaneki is another edgy character done right. I mean, he has like a really nice character design with like a really cool eye patch, and of course his hair that changes along with his personality. But at the same time, Kaneki's journey of like trying to find a world where he fits in, because he's like both ghoul and human, so he's he's like at that middle point. So him trying to fit into society, which I think most humans have like probably wondered, where exactly do I fit in? Which is something that I think that most humans can probably connect with. But both Kaneki and Guts are edgy characters done right, because they have this sort of human element to them. And in order to like write any form of a good character, the reader has to have a emotional connection with them. The best way to write an edgy character is to basically just write a good character with the edginess being a afterthought. But yeah, as I mentioned a couple of minutes ago, the best way to write a good edgy character is just to write a good character, a character that the readers can connect with, while the edginess is just an afterthought. But yeah, that was it. Thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it. Are there any last words that you have?
Um, that's really what the whole topic kind of boils down to is just focus on really making the character's actions make sense. Just like with any other emotion, it wouldn't make sense for a character to start crying out of nowhere. So for a character to completely just flip a switch and say some edgy shit just wouldn't. You have to lead up to those kind of moments. But thanks again for having me on, and hope you all take care.
And I also want you guys to have a good day, a good night, a good evening. And if you happen to enjoy this little collaboration, then maybe hit that like button. And if you want to see more content, then also hit that subscribe button. Also, trying to make it to 200 subs before the end of the year. So I would really appreciate it.